As a minister, author, and someone who has dedicated his life to guiding people towards unity, compassion, and truth, I am deeply aware of the challenges facing everyday Americans. I hear the struggles of hardworking men and women who feel their voices are lost in a system that seems to prioritize power over people, profit over compassion, and division over unity. Over the years, many friends, parishioners, and readers have asked me to consider running for office. Some have even urged me to run for the presidency, believing that my ideas for addressing the issues they face deserve a national platform. This encouragement has been both humbling and daunting. I won't pretend that I haven't considered it. It would be an honor to stand as a representative of those who feel unseen, unheard, and forgotten. I believe I could raise a voice to the challenges of inequality, a broken healthcare system, an unchecked climate change, and fractured justice system. Even if I didn't win, I could inspire a dialogue grounded in empathy and ethical leadership, showing the nation that a different kind of politics is possible, a politician that is driven by compassion, guided by justice, and fueled by unity. But here's the reality. The democratic system we have today doesn't make it possible for the average citizen to run for office, much less the presidency. In theory, anyone can submit their name to be placed on the ballot. The right to vote and the right to run for office are enshrined in our democratic ideals, suggesting that any American, regardless of background, has the pathway to leadership. However, the reality is far different. The process for getting on the ballot requires enormous financial resources, a vast network, and in most states, the collection of tens of thousands of signatures from registered voters. Each state has her own hurdles, creating a patchwork of requirements that favor those with significant financial resources and established political influence. As someone who grew up in a family that oscillated between the low and middle class, I understand firsthand the weight of financial limitations. Many of the people I serve also come from humble backgrounds, and I know their struggles all too well. I know what it's like to work hard, to stretch every dollar, and to make sacrifices to provide a stable life for loved ones. For people who come from such circumstances, the dream of running for office feels nearly impossible. Not because we lack passion, the intelligence, or the ideas, but because we lack the access. To give you a sense of the scale, gathering the required signatures in each state would take hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers, countless hours, and significant financial resources. And once on the ballot, the battle continues. Campaign costs mount exponentially, with advertisement, travel, and media strategies eating away at budgets. Independent voices are drowned out by major party candidates whose campaigns are often backed by corporations, wealthy donors, and interest groups. They have the resources to shape the narrative, frame debates, and ensure their messages are the ones heard on a national scale. They have the privilege of access. I believe that the soul of democracy lies in the diversity of voices, yet our system has evolved to favor the wealthy and the socially privileged. We see candidates who are often disconnected from the everyday struggles of average Americans, candidates who have never known the challenges of stretching a paycheck or navigating the complexities of inadequate health care, attempting to speak for those of us who do. And while many of them mean well, they lack a lived understanding of these challenges, which shape the empathy required to lead with compassion. The cost of running for office is exorbitant, and the influence of big money in politics only exacerbates the inequality. Sadly, our political system too often prioritizes candidates who can court wealthy donors, cutting off opportunities for those who seek to serve their communities without compromising their values for campaign contributions. In place of a campaign, I've channeled my energies into writing. Through my blog, I aim to provide the transparency I would bring to an office. I write about healthcare, about education, about the environmental crises, and how I believe we can solve these issues not through division, but through unity. I write about what I would do if I were in office, not to paint a picture of unreachable ideas, but to show that we can have politics driven by compassion and responsibility, rooted in justice and respect. In each post, I lay out practical steps we can take to address these issues, steps that are realistic, actionable, and grounded in a love for people over profits. I share these thoughts in the hope that someone, somewhere, might hear them and be inspired to push for change. My voice may not echo in the halls of Congress, but I believe it can still reach people where they are. And perhaps in some small way, that will plant a seed of change. The fight for a fairer system doesn't end with individual voices, it begins with structural change. We need to re examine the way we handle campaign financing, limit the influence of corporate interest, and expand ballot access. For true democracy to flourish, we must reduce barriers for independents and everyday candidates who want to bring genuine change without compromising their integrity. We need to develop pathways for low income individuals to run viable campaigns, open doors for community leaders without wealthy backers, and eliminate practices that allow money to speak louder than principles. Imagine what our democracy could look like if we welcomed more diverse voices, if we had teachers, social workers, activists, pastors, and farmers running for office. Imagine the depth of understanding and empathy we would be able to bring to our policies. Imagine the progress we could make if our leaders didn't just represent wealth or privilege, but truly represented all of us. I may never run for office, but the call for justice, compassion, and truth is a mission I'll always stand for. Each one of us can advocate for change in our communities, workplaces, and at home. We can push our elected officials to address the needs of those they represent and hold them accountable when they fall short. By speaking out, writing, voting, and standing in solidarity, we can challenge the status quo and work together to build a more inclusive, compassionate democracy. In the end, my vision for America is a simple one: a country where every person, no matter their background, has an equal opportunity to serve, lead, and make a difference. I hope that vision resonates with you because together we can help shape a future that truly reflects our highest ideals.